Chosen ones, awaken. The world senses your rise, and those who once mocked you now tremble, not because of who you were, but who you are becoming. People you attempt to bury might simply be seeds. The eyes on you watch not in judgment, but in fear. They see the unstoppable force you were always meant to be. Now your adversaries desperately search for ways to stop karma, losing sleep over the power they once dismissed. But destiny is set. You were born for greatness. Rise. Why? Because those selected don't make an announcement when they will arrive. Defying expectations and logic, they climb silently. What about their adversaries? They anticipated it before you did. What did they observe? They attempted to put out the fire inside you, the brilliance they thought would never come out. They now understand that you are the storm they cannot escape. Let's investigate further. First of all, your adversaries saw your potential before you did, long before you even saw it in yourself. Your opponents saw something in you. It was the indisputable power of what you could become, not simply your potential. They could sense the energy you carried, even when you were feeling trapped, unsure, or questioning your skills. The problem with being selected is that it's not always about appearances. It has to do with the force that emanates from inside, often before you are aware of it. Because of who you were at the time, your opponents did not hate you. No, the danger you posed was hated by them. They could tell you were different from the others. They saw how life seemed to bend and form itself around you, and how even your failures were setups rather than actual events. They were frightened because it seemed like you had an unseen mark of fate. You didn't need to scream your aspirations from the rooftops or show off your abilities. The narrative was conveyed by your energy alone. Ironically, they most likely saw your brilliance long before you did. While you were still denying it, they noticed your brightness. When you were doubting your mission, others recognized your strength. And as a result, their anger and terror started to increase. They utilized your future as fuel for their animosity, rather than as a source of inspiration for their own personal development. Their hatred sprang from what they lacked, not from what you had. They saw your potential as a mirror of everything they were unwilling to become. They attempted to discredit you, divert your attention, or incite others against you because of this. The reality is, however, that the same vision that frightened them is what will solidify your position as a great person. You are just beginning. Second, their perception of you revealed their own vulnerability. When your adversaries gazed at you, they recognized not just your potential, but also their own vulnerabilities. You turned into an unavoidable mirror that reflected all of their failures, insecurities, and quick cuts. They were uncomfortable just being with you since it reminded them of the work they wouldn't take on themselves. Simply being you was enough to break them down. You didn't need to speak or move. Jealousy is superficial, but it wasn't the only emotion involved. This was more profound. It was realizing that you have traits others couldn't replicate, like perseverance, sincerity, and purpose. They saw in you what they longed for, but were unwilling to develop. That hurt. They understood deep down that they had the same possibilities, but they chose to remain static while you continued to improve, which is why it hurt. It wasn't about you. It wasn't about their rage, their bitterness, or their desire to destroy you. They were the focus. They were reminded of their vulnerability by you. You demonstrated to them the harsh realities, sacrifices, and discipline that they were avoiding in their own lives. They converted their dread into animosity, rather than confronting and learning from that discomfort. They reasoned that by dimming your light, their shadows would be less visible. The issue is that the light always prevails. They cannot avoid the truth no matter how much they try to divert themselves with noise, drama, or efforts to discredit you. They've entirely given up on their own path since they've been so focused on yours. And that's what will ultimately make you stand out. They were your opponent because of their weakness, but your strength will keep you going whether or not they approve of you. The third is that you are the exception, rather than the norm. Your opponents dislike you because you are different from the others. Whether you intended to or not, you have always stood out in a world full of individuals attempting to blend in. You've been forging your own route, even when it seemed lonely, while others content themselves with following trends, copying what's fashionable, or seeking approval. You are the exception because of it. You redefine greatness according to your own standards, rather than just striving for it. Furthermore, they will never comprehend it. The thing that scares them the most is how easy it seems. You have not had an easy life at all. They can't even begin to fathom the wars you fought. However, you utilize them as fuel, rather than allowing them to break you. There is no one as resilient as you. You flourish, not simply survive, even amid circumstances that are meant to break you. That's what sets you apart. You're not trying to win over someone else's approval or time frame. They realize they can't compete with your concentration on something far larger. They despise you because they believe that success is inevitable for you, not because you're attempting to get it. Their rules are different from yours. They realize you're creating something entirely new, something they can't access or duplicate, after spending so much time attempting to scale ladders and kiss the correct hands. The problem with being the exception is that you don't need their games, their systems, or their approval, and they know it in their hearts. They are aware that you are making an effect while they are striving for fame. You are going with purpose while they're mired in rivalry. They are aware that you will continue to rise, not because you want to surpass them, but because it is your destiny. And that fact? They are completely shaken by it. Fourth, they underestimated you because you become an expert at being invisible. You've always known how effective it is to move silently. You remained silent while others were busy yelling their ideas, looking for approval, and flaunting their incomplete work. You didn't need a crowd to defend your path, and you didn't need praise to keep you going. Instead, you toiled diligently in the dark, away from the commotion, honing your skills and getting ready for the day you would come out. You were brilliant at it. You were aware that the biggest dangers aren't the ones you anticipate. Rather, they're the ones you don't see coming. Your peaceful demeanor is seen by your adversaries as weakness. Because you let them. They saw someone normal when they looked at you. There was no need for you to prove anything. You were honing your abilities, laying the groundwork, and developing into the force you were meant to be, while others were busy underestimating you. They are now rushing. Your ascent was unquestionably explosive, rather than gradual or foreseeable. It dispelled all of their misconceptions about you. Your invisibility has the advantage of disarming them. In their conceit, they believed there was nothing to plan for. Thus, they never prepared for someone like you. However, you were purposeful in your time. You realized that some conflicts are resolved before they are even fought. As you covertly positioned yourselves to win the battle, you gave them the impression that they were in control. They now have to face the fact that they never saw you coming as they see you assume your authority. The problem with those who become invisible is that when they do, their light is not simply dazzling, it is blinding. Not only was your appearance surprising, it was unavoidable. You've shown that sometimes the most audible triumph is won in quiet. Fifth, their vision of you was a warning, rather than just a premonition. It wasn't a coincidence that your opponents saw you, whether in their dreams, instincts, or even brief flashes of reality. The universe was telling them, subtly but unmistakably, this is the one who is going to threaten your reign. However, they disregarded that warning rather than taking it seriously. Perhaps it was conceit. It may have been denial, or maybe they believed their status was inviolable. For whatever reason, They chose to disregard what was directly in front of them, and now they are suffering the consequences. Warnings from the universe are not given lightly. They had a premonition when they detected your rising, not just a hunch or a case of irrational anxiety. They were seeing what would occur if they did not prepare, not simply what may occur. However, the issue with those who think they are untouchable is that they don't feel warnings are relevant to them. Therefore, they squandered their time and effort attempting to undermine, discredit, or pretend you didn't exist rather than being ready for your emergence. The instant they rejected that vision, they started to collapse. The cosmic weight of it was underestimated by them. That warning was about a change in power and a rebalancing of the balance, not simply about you. You were here to do something far bigger than each of you, not only to confront them. And it was unstoppable by any amount of opposition. They are now beginning to see the reality. Every gut feeling they disregarded and every caution they dismissed is now coming back to haunt them. The ascent they dreaded is taking place in front of them. What about the irony? They had time to get ready. The cosmos offered them a preview of what was ahead, not as a kind of punishment, but as an opportunity for growth. Rather, they battled against the unavoidable. They are now forced to watch as the very thing they dreaded materializes. Number 6. You are the meeting point of divine timing and ancestor strength. You are the result of generations, not just one individual. The resilience, knowledge, and unrealized potential that have been handed down through the generations are what gave you your strength, not you. Not only are your adversaries fighting you, but history itself is also bearing down on them. The people who came before you, those who battled, fought, and dreamt to make it possible for someone like you to exist, are the ones who guide every move you take. You are invincible because of the precise alignment of divine timing, not merely your own might. The cosmos made sure that you came at the exact moment when the world needed someone like you. Even if they are not aware of it, your adversaries are affected by this. This is the reason they are unable to articulate their fear of you or their fixation on stopping you. They are threatened not only by you personally, but also by what you stand for. Knowing that you would one day rise to continue their heritage, your forefathers sowed the seeds of greatness inside you, and you've succeeded. You have transformed the suffering, wisdom, and fortitude of those who came before you into something that cannot be stopped. That's what sets you apart. You're shattering the bonds and realizing the aspirations of those who couldn't, not simply fighting for yourself. Such strength is unmatched by your adversaries. They are used to fighting against people rather than traditions. They are used to controlling circumstances rather than defying divine timing. And for that reason, they will lose. They never realized how powerful you were, and their efforts to stop you would only heighten the significance of your ascent. No amount of resistance can alter the fact that you are here for a purpose. 7th, they flourish in darkness, thus they are afraid of your light. They dread you because your sheer presence upends the carefully crafted facade they live behind, not because you have directly harmed them. They flourish in places where there is no responsibility, in shadows, and in half-truths. But your brightness is the complete opposite. It is difficult to ignore, relentless, and unrepentant. It makes them face the deceptions they have been telling themselves and the others they have deceived to keep their sense of power. Even if you never speak a word, your presence reveals what they have been concealing. That is the power of light. It exposes everything, both the real and the fake, the good and the evil. They are frightened by it because you've embraced sincerity, whereas they've become used to working in the shadows and acting more than they really are. You don't fear being accepted for who you are, warts and all. That amount of reality is too much for them to face, as it necessitates a degree of introspection they are not prepared for. They sense it as soon as you enter a room, so you don't even need to call them out. They wriggle because your energy reminds them of everything they're trying to avoid. They are afraid of you because they know that your honesty will force their carefully manicured facade to fall apart. Not only do you shine out, but you also make it hard for others to conceal their gloom. But it's not your issue, it's their worry. You shine because that's who you are, not to draw attention to yourself. They have been carrying that uneasiness about you all along. It is not anything you made them feel. You only make it more difficult for them to ignore you. And that's the beauty of your light. It makes people face their own darkness in addition to illuminating the world around them. It is up to them whether they step up to the challenge or go further into the shadows. In any case, you will continue to shine. The eighth is that your energy changed their course. As soon as they realized you, things began to change. Everything started to fall apart, including their plans, confidence, and feeling of control. Your energy was already working against them, even if they were unaware of it at the time. You didn't need to do anything. Your presence was sufficient to upend the framework of what they were attempting to construct. This is the way the world works, not only a coincidence. The energy around a selected individual begins to rebalance as they enter the scene. Whether intentionally or inadvertently, their adversaries sense the change. Their tactics are no longer as effective as they once were. Their coalitions begin to fall apart. They lose speed. Why? Because space is being created in the cosmos for the selected one to occupy their proper position. The instant your adversaries attempted to fight you, they sealed their own doom, even if they were unaware of it. Every move they made against you just served to divert energy in your direction, strengthening you and bringing you closer to your mission. They were left fumbling in the meantime, unable to understand why their standard strategies were failing. Not only did your presence change their plans, but it also revealed their flaws. Anything that is based on lies or dishonesty cannot stand up to the energy of truth and harmony that you possess. Even if they were unable to express it, they felt it. Because their world was never designed to deal with someone like you, it began to fall apart. They are currently unable to determine what went wrong. The solution is straightforward, though. Your energy was a proclamation that their time at the top was finished, not merely a disturbance. What about the irony? You didn't even have to take any action. Because the cosmos always works for those who are chosen, it worked in your favor. The ninth is that you are a conundrum that they cannot understand. You have an aspect of yourself that defies categorization. They are really irritated because they know you are not what they expected. They are accustomed to individuals who are either self-assured or modest, but not both. They have never experienced quiet strength, but they have heard booming force. You are a paradox, combining traits they didn't believe were compatible. They underestimate you because of your humility, yet they are caught off guard by your might. They are disarmed by your vulnerability, yet left speechless by your resilience. You're not acting like someone you're not, or playing a part. The one thing that throws them off balance is that you're simply being yourself. They fail to see that your complexity is an integral part of who you are, not just a facade. You've experienced enough to understand that depth and strength don't have to be emphasized. Their loudest noise is less significant than your quiet. They are always attempting to identify you, categorize you, and forecast your next move, but they are unsuccessful. Every time they believe they have you figured out, you do something that totally defies their preconceptions. They are perplexed by your whole life, not just by your deeds. They have no idea how to handle someone who is both imaginative and grounded, accessible and impenetrable. You are so strong because you are everything they never imagined. You're out there growing, prospering, and surpassing all expectations while they're busy trying to understand you. Since they have never met someone like you before, and most likely never will, they are unable to understand you. The beauty of being a contradiction is that you don't have to conform to their expectations, since you're not here to fulfill them. To rewrite them, you are here. The 10th is that they see in you what they won't develop in themselves. Your adversaries are envious of you, in addition to disliking you. Not because of your possessions, but rather because of what you stand for. You are a real-life example of what persistence, discipline, and progress look like. They are constantly reminded of the chances they lost, the effort they did not put in, and the potential they let to elude them when they gaze at you. You stand in for the course they might have pursued but chose not to, and they are weakened by that understanding. Although they took shortcuts, they had the same opportunities as you. While you were prepared to invest the time and energy necessary to become an expert in your field, they want quick pleasure. While you confronted pain head-on, others steered clear of it. You pushed yourself to be extraordinary, while others made do with mediocrity. Your decisions, not chance, are what set you apart from others, and it is the main thing that bothers them. What irritates them is not only your accomplishment, but also the journey you took to get there. They are reminded of all the things they chose not to do when they see the discipline you have developed, the sacrifices you have made, and the progress you have made. They had the option to change, but they choose to remain unchanged. They now have to see you benefit from your hard work, which hurts in ways they can't even acknowledge. Your adversaries hate you because you are the evidence that they might have been different, not because you are different. It's never about you when they attempt to bring you down. Rather, it's about their incapacity to accept their own failures. They see in you the person they were too scared to be, and they will always be aware of that. 11th, they tried to change fate with their assaults, but they were unsuccessful. It wasn't only envy or pettiness that made your adversaries target you. They were attempting to meddle in something far more important, your fate. They believed they could halt what was destined to happen by obstructing your way, undermining your efforts, or tarnishing your reputation. However, destiny cannot be changed, altered, or rewritten. It is a force that resists strategies, no matter how well thought out they may be. You were empowered by their strikes, rather than made weaker. Your fire was only fueled by every effort to put you down. All they did was educate you to persevere, even if they believed they were shattering you. Every barrier they put in your path served as a springboard to something bigger, even if they believed they were preventing you. Ironically, their actions helped you go forward on your path rather than causing you to be derailed. What they didn't realize is that fate isn't brittle. It doesn't break under duress or waver when confronted with resistance. It feeds on opposition, if anything. The force of what was directing you was underestimated by your adversaries. They believed they were battling you. But in reality, they were up against a far more powerful force that they were unable to fully understand. Ultimately, they were bound to fail. You not only made it through their assaults, but you flourished despite them. They are now forced to face the reality that they were never in control as they watch you ascend. No matter how hard you tried to fight it, destiny was always on your side. The 12th is that their biggest lesson is your ascension. Your ascent is one of the amusing lessons the universe has to offer humanity. Your adversaries were supposed to gain knowledge from your achievement, not only observe it. Not only did their efforts to discredit you, undermine you, or stop you completely fail, they backfired. They will never forget the lesson they learned when they saw you accomplish everything they attempted to stop. Your elevation served as a demonstration of alignment, not only a means of disproving them. You did not ascend because you fell to their level or played their games. You succeeded because you remained loyal to yourself, put in a lot of effort, and had faith in the path's timing. That is the reason your success is so potent. It demonstrates what occurs when you put purpose ahead of pettiness. It is both humiliating and unsettling for your opponents to see you ascend. It's humiliating because it demonstrates the futility of their efforts to stop you. Because it makes people face their own shortcomings. It is eerie. They are forced to consider why they used so much energy opposing you rather than concentrating on their own development. The universe permitted your ascension to serve as a wake-up call rather than as a kind of retribution. It is up to them to decide whether to take it as a lesson or to keep fighting. One thing is certain, though. Your ascent is a cosmic warning that fate cannot be stopped, not merely a victory for you. 13th, they recognized your inevitable nature, not simply your potential. Your adversaries were terrified of your certain victory, not simply your ability or your drive. The issue was not if you would rise, but rather when. They were afraid because they knew deep down that success was written in the stars, regardless of what they did. Potential isn't all that matters. Potential might be squandered, disregarded, or never reached. Your inevitability was what set you apart. They saw it in your demeanor, in your perseverance in the face of adversity, and in the manner that everything seemed to be working in your favor. It was divine, not chance. They were afraid because they knew that your success disproved their whole story. They wanted to think that only they, them, were capable of achieving success, power, and fame. However, you dispelled that delusion. You demonstrated to them that excellence is about purpose rather than advantages or fast routes. Your inevitability revealed their nervousness, in addition to endangering their position. They attempted to stop you because they saw in you everything they didn't want to strive for. However, the problem with inevitability is that it doesn't give a damn about resistance. You were always going to get up, no matter how hard they tried. They are now forced to face an unavoidable reality as they see you assert everything they attempted to prevent. You were selected, and there was nothing they could do to alter that. Your achievement was certain. It was never a question. They will never forget you because of this. You were never supposed to blend in. You were never intended to follow the same route as others who had doubts about you. Every hardship, every failure, and every assault had a larger purpose to shape you into the person you were meant to be. Your opponents were envious and afraid of you because of who you are, not simply what you own or are capable of. They struggled to suppress your light because they knew it would outshine all they made in the darkness, and they sensed your inevitable nature before you did. The fact is, however, that they had no chance. You are a force of both divine timing and ancestry, a dichotomy of might and humility. You grew in the shadows, moved in stealth, and came out unscathed by their plots. They misjudged your mission, misinterpreted your energy, and undervalued your resilience. However, each assault they made on you simply fueled your inner fire and made you into something even more powerful. Your ascent is a testimony, not merely a triumph. It's evidence that those who lack the guts to confront their own fate cannot change it. Your presence was intended to realign, not just to disturb. Not only did you defeat their resistance, but you also turned it into the same thing that helped you advance. You are now a lighthouse, unfazed by their residual anxieties and unreserved in your sincerity. You have shown that divine purpose is inexorable, truth is indisputable, and light is impervious to darkness. Give them the opportunity to struggle with the lessons your elevation imparts. You need to concentrate on more important things. Continue to shine and rise, and never forget that the selected don't ask for permission. They assert their position. This is your moment. Don't stop here. If this message resonated with you, or if it sparked an inner fire that you were unaware existed, join a community that recognizes the truth in you by subscribing to the channel. To let the world know you're taking back your light, use the like button. Tell us how this spoke to you by leaving a comment. Additionally, forward this message to someone who could benefit from it today. You are a member of a movement, not simply a spectator. Together, let's ascend.